You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken tech for your ears.
You know that feeling when you click a button to pay for something online, and it processes so instantly you actually panic?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like you sit there staring at the screen, your heart suddenly racing, thinking, wait, did that actually work? Or did I just send my entire life savings into an absolute digital void?
Yeah, the sudden spike in adrenaline is, it is entirely universal.
Because our brains just reject it, right?
Exactly. Our brains actively reject digital transactions that happen without any perceptible delay. We have this bizarre psychological need to see, like, a little spinning wheel.
Or a fake progress bar.
Right, just to prove the computer is working hard for our money. When software operates at its true speed, we just assume it must be broken.
It is wild. We have spent decades trying to make technology faster and entirely frictionless, and we are suddenly finding out that humans genuinely crave a bit of friction.
We really do.
We have a massive stack of industry leaks, design manifestos, and research papers to unpack right now.
Heaps of stuff to get through.
And our mission is to figure out why tech giants are suddenly building deliberate slowness and, well, imperfection back into their products.
Yeah.
If you are looking to understand the mechanics of the tech world without reading 100 different articles, you are in the right place. Think of me as your vocal technologist, that tech-savvy mate who loves this stuff but is always ready to ask the cynical questions.
The tension here is, it is really fascinating to pull apart because the tech industry is currently building these incredibly powerful automated systems.
Right.
And they are colliding headfirst with basic human psychology. We are optimizing the underlying architecture for machines.
But we still have to design the final interface for people.
Spot on. And those two goals are, increasingly at odds with one another.
Let us start with the sheer velocity of what is being built right now, because it provides the context for this entire rebellion against perfection. We are seeing the rise of the artificial intelligence factory model.
Yeah, and Adobe is a perfect example of this.
They have this Firefly AI assistant rolling into public beta, and, it is a massive leap beyond just typing a prompt to generate a funny picture of a cat.
Oh, it is way beyond that. Adobe is explicitly calling this a push towards agentic creativity.
Agentic creativity. Okay, what does that actually mean?
Well, to understand what that means in practice, we have to distinguish between a tool and an agent.
Okay.
Like, a tool waits for you to swing it. An agent acts as an autonomous project manager.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this system orchestrates complex workflows across all their major creative applications. So, Photoshop, Premiere, and Illustrator.
So it is just jumping between the apps for you.
Exactly. You give it a broad text prompt, such as creating a social media campaign for a new beverage, and it figures out how to execute that vision across multiple software environments.
That is insane.
It learns your creative preferences over time, and it even integrates third-party models like Kling 3.0.
Wait, I have to stop you there, because we hear these model names thrown around constantly. What actually is Kling 3.0? Right.
And why does it matter that Adobe is plugging it into their ecosystem?
So Kling 3.0 is a highly advanced video generation model. It was developed independently, and it is known for handling incredibly complex physics and realistic motion.
Right, okay.
By integrating it, Adobe is acknowledging that they do not need to build every single piece of the artificial intelligence puzzle themselves.
Oh, I see. They're just routing the traffic.
Spot on. They can use their Firefly assistant to route your request to the best specialized brain for the job. You ask for a video, Adobe sends the parameters to Kling.
Kling renders the complex physics.
Yes, and then Adobe brings it back into Premiere for you to edit.
So you are not holding the brush anymore. You are essentially shouting directions from a director chair while a team of robots does all the painting.
Pretty much.
And then you look at Microsoft. They are launching a model called MAI Image 2 Efficient.
Yeah.
The name alone tells you exactly what they are prioritizing. But how exactly are they making it efficient? Well, they are prioritizing massive scale over artistic flourish. This new variant is 41% cheaper and 22% faster.
Wow, that is a huge jump.
It is. And it has 4 times the GPU throughput compared to their previous flagship models.
Okay, 4 times the GPU throughput sounds impressive on a spec sheet, but what does that actually mean for the software developers trying to use this thing?
So the graphics processing unit, or GPU, is the engine that handles the massive mathematical calculations required to render images.
Right.
Throughput is just how much data that engine can process simultaneously. By quadrupling the throughput, Microsoft has created a model that can serve thousands of concurrent requests without lagging.
And the cost reduction.
They achieved the 41% cost reduction by shrinking the parameter count. Essentially, they're stripping away the bloat, so the model only focuses on specific, repetitive tasks.
Right, making it highly specialized.
Exactly. This represents a massive push for artificial intelligence self-sufficiency from Microsoft, especially amid strained ties with OpenAI.
Right, they want to own the whole pipeline.
They want a model engineered to be called programmatically thousands of times a day without bankrupting the developer.
It feels a bit like a massive automated fast food kitchen,
Yeah, that is a good way to look at it.
Like you have these gleaming metal machines churning out millions of burgers. They are perfectly uniform. They are perfectly cooked every single time, but they have absolutely no soul.
None at all.
I reckon the big question we have to ask is this. If Adobe and Microsoft are building tools to do all the creative grunt work, are we just moving from hands-on creators to factory supervisors?
That is the big fear. The risk of the factory model is that when you optimize purely for speed and volume, you inevitably get a homogenized output.
Right, everything looks the same.
Exactly. You get an endless stream of mathematically adequate content. However, the automated factory model completely falls apart the second it hits the chaotic, messy reality of the real world.
Which is brilliant.
It really is.
Before we bow down and accept our new automated overlords, we really need to acknowledge where they actually fail. And they fail spectacularly at front-end web development.
They do. It is really interesting.
I always assumed this was just because web browsers are basically held together by digital duct tape. But the mechanics behind the failure are actually quite revealing.
The mechanics are crucial to understand. Like, if you ask an artificial intelligence to generate generic back-end scaffolding, it is brilliant.
Right, because it is structured.
Exactly. It spits out database connections in seconds because servers are highly controlled, predictable environments.
Yes.
But front-end code has to adapt to countless unpredictable variables. You have the document object model, cascading style sheets, differing screen sizes, and bizarre operating system quirks.
So it is essentially flying blind. It cannot see what it is actually building on the screen.
Exactly. It lacks spatial and visual awareness. A human developer looks at a screen and immediately notices if a button is overlapping text.
Right, because we have eyes.
Yes. The artificial intelligence is just predicting the next line of text based on historical training data, much of which is outdated code.
Oh, of course.
It cannot comprehend the infinite variability of how a messy human web browser actually renders visual information.
That is hilarious. Our disorganized web browsers are the ultimate defense against the machines.
Yeah, a bit of human chaos saves the day.
But here's where it gets properly weird. Even when artificial intelligence works perfectly, even when it gets the code right, that extreme speed creates a massive crisis of trust.
It does.
Which brings us back to that initial panic about the payment button we were talking about.
Right. In the design world, this is known as the trust latency gap. And it is rooted in a psychological concept called the labor illusion.
Labor illusion. I love that.
Evolution has wired our brains to associate time spent with effort and value. When a process takes time, we genuinely believe the system is working hard on our behalf.
Right. So if a mortgage algorithm approves you for a massive loan in like 0.2 seconds, you do not feel relieved.
Not at all.
You feel incredibly suspicious. You assume it missed a glaring error or failed to check your financial documents properly.
Spot on. So designers are actively introducing a concept called strategic friction to combat this exact suspicion.
Strategic friction.
Yes, they are intentionally slowing down high-stakes or irreversible actions to align the machine speed with human cognitive processing.
Which, yeah, is exactly as terrifying as it sounds. We are building fake loading bars to lie to humans just so they feel safe letting the machine do its job.
Well, when you put it like that.
We are writing code to make the computer pretend it is thinking hard, ticking off fake checklists on the screen.
I mean, it sounds deceptive, but it is fundamentally about designing for the human emotional response. Users need a few seconds to transition from anxiety to relief.
Fair enough.
We are adding friction because digital perfection is it is unnerving.
It really is. And the rejection of frictionless perfection in software functionality, well, it connects directly to what we are seeing in visual design. Perfect, instant, highly polished software is everywhere now, and users are completely rejecting the aesthetic of it. We are seeing a massive rebellion of taste.
We really have hit peak artificial intelligence fatigue. For the last 20 years, high aesthetic polish was a premium signal.
Right, and then quality.
It meant a team of professionals spent hundreds of hours refining a product. But now that a machine can generate a photorealistic image or a flawless gradient in 2 seconds, polish is just a signal of cheap automation.
That makes so much sense.
Users are actively gravitating toward handmade designs, which are emerging as the new trust signals.
So what does a handmade trust signal actually look like on a screen? Because I am assuming we're not talking about literal scanned finger painting or stick figures here.
No, it is the visible presence of the human hand automating chaos. Machines are terrible at organic chaos.
Right.
We are seeing a return to variable line weights, incomplete shapes, intentional textures, and slightly messy brushstrokes. When you see those intentional imperfections, your brain subconsciously registers that a human being spent actual time and care creating it. It differentiates a premium brand from the endless sea of mathematically perfect generated content.
See, this makes me question the entire structure of graphic design education right now.
Oh, this is a huge debate.
If the machines can execute the perfect technical drawing in 1 second, what on earth are we teaching young designers?
Well, treating design education purely as job training or software mastery is now a failing model. The industry debate suggests graphic design needs to pivot entirely and be taught as a liberal art.
A liberal art.
Yeah, we need to teach history, culture, semiotics, and human psychology.
It's because the AI cannot do that.
Exactly. Artificial intelligence cannot understand cultural context or irony. We should not teach students how to click buttons in software because the machine will always lick the buttons faster.
Right.
We must teach taste and critical thinking.
Taste becomes the ultimate differentiator. And we saw a massive, very public example of what happens when you prioritize aesthetic polish over conceptual taste with Apple.
Oh, yes.
They introduced this liquid glass visual redesign, which was technically stunning, but practically useless.
Right, the liquid glass visual language. It was an iridescent, highly refractive user interface style.
It looked crazy.
From a purely technical standpoint, it was beautiful craftsmanship, like looking through a beautifully cut prism with complex drop shadows and bevels.
But it completely missed the point of what interface design is supposed to do, which is communicate information quickly.
It lacked a conceptual rationale. You know, when Apple shifted to flat design years ago, they were stripping away distractions to focus on content.
Yes.
Liquid glass imposed this heavy, uniform material across all user interface elements, and it completely drowned out distinct brand identities.
Right.
Take a popular app like Crumble, which relies heavily on its signature pink color to communicate its brand.
Oh, I love Crumble.
Under the liquid glass treatment, that crucial pink identity just dissolved into the refractive surface. It all became generic, shiny glass.
Some major apps like Netflix and Uber just ignored it completely. They refused to adopt the new style because it erased their visual equity.
Exactly.
It is like comparing two pubs. Apple built a perfectly spotless, sterile pub where everything is made of brushed steel and glass, but nobody actually wants to drink there because it has zero atmosphere.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
People trust the pub with the sticky floors, the chipped wood bar, and the slightly wonky stools because it has character. People trust the sticky floor because it feels lived in.
That is a great analogy.
But I have to ask, is polish completely dead or just on a hiatus until we get bored of looking at messy brushstrokes?
Polish will always have a place, but its cultural meaning is permanently shifted. It used to mean luxury. Now it means efficiency and scale.
Right.
The sticky floor, the slight imperfection that communicates premium human attention. The rough edges prove a human was actually in the room.
That is so interesting. And if the software world is spiraling into this automated, overly polished chaos, how are we finding balance?
We are actually looking to hardware.
Right. Ironically, the retreat from frictionless perfection seems to be happening in the physical hardware we hold in our hands.
Hardware is where we ground these digital experiences, and we see a fascinating retreat back to physical tangibility. Take the rumored iPhone 18 Pro. Apple is reportedly dialing back the technology on the camera control button.
Wait, Apple, the company that usually tries to invent 5 new ways to swipe on a single piece of glass, is actually removing a feature.
Yeah, they are removing the capacitive gesture features from that specific button.
Why?
Well, the engineering behind capacitive touch relies on electrical fields to detect tiny finger movements. But users found it overly sensitive and way too easy to trigger accidentally when trying to take a quick photo.
So it's just annoying.
Exactly. Apple is learning that less is more. They are keeping the mechanical switch, the actual tactile click, but stripping away the complex swipe gestures.
It is a brilliant irony. Apple is removing highly advanced touch gestures because human thumbs are clumsy when we are in a rush.
We really are.
It proves that no matter how advanced the technology gets, our physical biology demands a simple, satisfying click.
Spot on.
And they are leaning even harder into physical design with this rumored iPhone Ultra.
Oh, the iPhone Ultra represents a massive shift toward premium tangibility. It is expected to be a book-style folding phone constructed with a high-end titanium frame.
Okay.
It features a crease-free 7.6 to 7.8-inch inner display, essentially giving you an iPad mini that folds into your pocket.
Wow. And what else are they packing into this titanium folding slab to justify the cost?
It is an absolute powerhouse. It includes dual 48-megapixel rear cameras and the new A20 Pro chip.
Let us unpack that chip for a moment. What does the A20 Pro actually do differently?
The focus of the A20 Pro is massive on device processing power. Instead of sending your requests to a cloud server to be processed by a giant data center, the chip is powerful enough to run artificial intelligence agents locally on the phone.
That is huge.
It means faster response times, significantly better privacy, and the ability to operate without an internet connection.
Nice.
Furthermore, they're putting Touch ID built directly into the physical power button rather than relying entirely on Face ID.
Going back to the button.
Yes. They are asking for a massive premium for this tangible experience, with pricing expected around $19.99.
$19.99, because apparently that is just where we have arrived with phone prices.
Yeah, it is a lot.
If you want buttons that actually click and screens that fold, you have to hand over a month of rent.
Pretty much.
But the focus on the physical power button for Touch ID feels very intentional. It is a return to a physical, tactile security measure instead of a passive facial scan.
The physical click provides absolute biometric certainty, and they are actively blending this physical reality with the software experience.
How so?
Well, in iOS 26, they are introducing tinted app icons that automatically match the color of your physical MagSafe case.
That is wild. The software is constantly looking at the physical plastic or leather you snapped onto the back of the phone and altering the digital interface to match it.
Yes.
It is dragging the software out of the screen and into the physical world.
It grounds the infinite digital experience in the finite physical object you are holding.
That is really clever.
And if we connect this broader hardware trend back to where we started with software and artificial intelligence, we see designers finding a very similar balance. The emerging core design skill is artificial intelligence agent orchestration.
So they are not fighting the machine, but they are not just blindly supervising the factory either.
Exactly. They treat the machine as a collaborative partner. Designers use plain language to build applications, but they apply rigorous systems thinking to the process.
Right.
The workflow has distinct phases.
Ugh.
First, you accept the basic outputs the machine generates. Then, you debug the system through conversation, literally talking the agent through its mistakes.
Okay.
Next, you apply structured documentation to give the agent rigid boundaries. Finally, the human must decide when the product is actually good enough to ship.
So the artificial intelligence does the heavy lifting of typing the code or rendering the image, but the human provides the context, the intent, and the taste.
Spot on.
The human orchestrator knows what the digital sticky floor should look like and exactly where to place it so the user feels comfortable. The human provides the friction.
Because the machine lacks the ability to understand human emotional resonance. When everything can be mathematically perfect and instantly available, perfection entirely loses its value.
It really does.
Thoughtful imperfection and human tangibility become the new premiums.
Tech has made building adequate products incredibly cheap and fast. You can spin up a functional web application or a generic piece of marketing design in seconds using these factory tools.
You really can.
Which means genuine delight, unique character, and careful attention to human detail are the only things left that are truly rare.
Very true.
But here is something to mull over before we wrap up. If rough edges, fake loading bars, and messy brushstrokes are the new signals of human trust, what happens when the artificial intelligence gets smart enough to perfectly fake the sticky floor?
Oh, that is a terrifying thought.
Right. When the algorithms learn exactly how to generate the perfect amount of strategic friction to manipulate our trust, how will we actually know what is human? Keep questioning the tech around you, and thanks for letting Vocal Technologists look under the hood with you.
Spoken Tech for your ears.